We should do that one at least one time, and then
that's what I'm going to do. This is your one episode, Fowler.
He has wiped out, by his grace through faith in Christ, your every sin, past, present, future.
Christian hedonist is somebody who says that my greatest joy, my greatest good is God. And therefore, I will pursue that joy and I will pursue that God above all else. So God's glorified and I'm satisfied.
You are now listening to the Pastor Discussions podcast.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode number 11 of the Pastor Discussions podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Joe, and welcome to your weekly conversation on doctrine, faith, and the Christian life.
We recently received some feedback from a listener that said that they were annoyed with the fact that we do the same type of intro every time. So we're trying something new. I hope you appreciate this, Fowler.
And this will be the only time this ever happens.
Because it's boring. We actually made it through without laughing that time. That was pretty good. We've tried this about 7 times now. It's failed each time. We've got a special guest.
Hey, everybody.
Amanda's back.
Again.
And the stupid train is always beeping when you are in here.
I know.
It's beeping?
Yep, beep.
It's like
beep,
beep. Meep, meep. Meep.
It's like someone from above is trying to silence me.
The train
is from above?
They're kind of above, like they're up the street.
It's like a mile up. It's up north. That's up on a map.
So Amanda's back. What's up, Amanda?
Not much.
How are you?
I'm great.
That's good. This is the end of your work week, isn't it? This is Friday.
It is.
Friday.
Fun day.
Some days.
Some Fridays are fun. Some Fridays are not.
True.
Yeah. So, are you going to make me like drag conversation out of you? Like all of a sudden when we start recording, all of a sudden you're quiet.
You have no words.
You have lots of words up until we start.
Them. Most people don't want to hear the words I have.
Well, most people here in this office don't want to hear the words you have, but that hasn't stopped you from using them.
That's true.
We have an interesting relationship in this office.
Indeed.
We do. Indeed. Oh man, what's up, Joe? How have you been?
I'm good.
Is it another one of those weeks?
Joe fed me this week.
Did he feed you?
He made me egg rolls.
Oh, you got some of the Nissan egg rolls.
I did. They were awesome.
Yeah, they are good, aren't they?
They're really good.
Yeah. So Joe makes the egg rolls,
did
there's
Michaela
like
make the rice?
It's like the one thing I make. Yeah, Michaela makes the rice.
Yeah,
it was good too.
So it's like there's this special love that goes into it or something because we've tried to replicate them.
I felt love.
we tried to replicate them at our house, and they're really good, but they're just not the same.
It's because you guys didn't do it right, though.
Oh, we didn't do it right?
No. Everybody thinks you're supposed to cook the meat inside before and then wrap it. You actually don't.
So raw meat.
You put raw meat with the veggies and everything.
Oh.
That's the key.
That's the key, huh?
Yep.
We're gonna have to try that again because we that's every time
we had them at your house one time and they were fine.
Yeah, they were good.
I've never made egg rolls, and I'm a lot older than both of you.
My mom used to make them all the time, so that's
just like a family tradition thing.
Yeah.
Did she have to make like 10,000 of them for your family?
Well,
like 6 boys.
5 boys.
5 boys, yeah. 5 teenage boys eating egg rolls.
Like they probably ate 10 egg rolls apiece.
Well, I still eat that. So I can't imagine how many she had to make. I mean, you're probably talking at least 50.
Yeah.
So
that's nuts.
Yeah, that's a lot of egg rolls.
So how many do you cook at a time? How many can you cook?
I can do 6 with the pan I have at home at one time.
Did she have a mega pot?
I don't remember. I didn't pay attention. I just ate.
You didn't care.
I was just there to consume. I was there to contribute.
So, but now I cook them. So,
yeah.
And they're good.
They're good.
Yep.
You did learn something from your mother.
Yes. Well, more than just one thing.
I'm glad.
Is this like some sort of like motherly reflection on your part? Like, are my daughters going to learn anything from me?
I hope they.
Yeah, they're going to learn something. All the bad stuff.
Probably. It's progressively getting worse with each child.
Yeah, that's not true. I feel like your third child, which will remain nameless, Morgan,
And then your fourth child, Ellie, like Morgan, got the spike of.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Ellie
Spike of rebellion.
kind of took on the mom role again. It's like
who she tries to mother her older sister.
I know there's something not quite
That's
right
weird.
about that.
Yeah, you got Taylor and Ellie, who are kind of
both
the
moms, but yet they get along. They don't clash with each other.
Well, and how old is Ellie?
Ellie's 12.
Ellie is our she's on retainer as our babysitter.
She loves your children.
She does. And Finley loves her.
Mm-hmm.
Ainsley doesn't love anybody except for Carly. But Finley loves her. And so it's really funny though, because Finley still sleeps in a crib because I haven't assembled a bed for her yet. And so when Ellie has to put her to bed, she's got to get like a step stool out to get up high enough to get Finley in the bed.
She just kind of chucks her over the side and hopes for the best.
Get in there.
See, this is good babysitting tactics there. Sort of like one of those like Scottish like log throws or something where you got to hurl the thing over your shoulders. He grabs her by her arms and swings her up over.
That's funny. That's probably why Carly is working on the snacking side of Finley's diet.
The what?
She's trying to
cut her snacks down.
Yeah, sustain her snacking a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, she woke up the other day in the middle of the night and she was crying, and Carly went in there and she goes, "Mom, I'm hungry. I'm always hungry."
That is Finley's byline when she comes to the office too. She knows Gramanda will feed her.
So where does that? You got to explain where that comes from, Gramanda.
Shall we tell him the story?
Yeah, let's tell him the story.
It's kind of a sad story.
It's not a sad story. It's a hilarious story.
Well, it was sad for me.
It might have been sad for you, but it was hilarious for everybody else.
Okay, so what was it? Christmas? I think it was my Christmas gift.
It might have been.
Yeah. So this was 2 years ago. John took me to Chances Are with Carly and Finley for Christmas lunch. And we get in there and the waitress is seating us, and John and Carly sit across from Finn and I, and the nurse, not really a nurse, the waitress, there we go. She brings a high chair over and comments that she's going to move the high chair next to Grandma.
And then John just started laughing.
And John burst out in laughter. And I gave the waitress a dirty look.
No, you're not her grandma? Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm not her grandma.
That's uncomfortable. I'm not going to get tipped.
I could look like a grandma for Finn, but not quite mom and dad for you and Carly.
Yeah, you're like
I have gray hair.
But I'm doing the math. Like you would have had to have had one of us when you were like 15.
No, more like, how
10.
old are you? 8.
8. Yeah. 8.
Thank you. Please stop enforcing my old age.
So now Amanda is affectionately referred to as Gramanda.
But it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep. It's good for Finn.
Yeah.
So this week on the show, we sat down with Dawain Atkinson, who is a podcaster and runs the B.A.R podcast
in South Carolina.
Yep.
South
Carolina.
How do you know him?
Through the internet. We're digital friends.
Digital friends.
Yeah, digital
Facebook?
friends. Yeah, Facebook.
Okay.
Well, actually, what it is I heard about the B.A.R podcast and started listening to it a little bit and really enjoyed it. And he's a really cool guy. He's got a different background than what I have, coming from being from the South and everything. And
you don't come from the South.
No, I don't come from the South. I'm a Northerner. I'm a Yankee.
No, you're not. You're from Kansas. You're from farther south than I am.
Born in Boston and then raised on basically
true.
the East Coast.
Where were you? Oh, you were in New York for a while.
Yeah, New York and then Washington, D.C. And
that's true.
So I think the line for where the South is Virginia. I think that's where the Virginians like to call themselves Southerners.
Okay.
But so we sat down with Dawain Atkinson from the B.A.R podcast and talked with him a little bit about his life and his faith and his podcast. And so hope you enjoyed this interview with Dawain Atkinson from the B.A.R podcast. All right. So we are here with Dawain Atkinson, and you were just telling us before we started this, but you're from South Carolina. And so I appreciate you taking the time to join us on the podcast and chat a little bit today.
Yes, sir. Pleasure is all mine, man. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So why don't you just start off by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm Dawain Atkinson, originally from Turkey, North Carolina. I always make the point to let that know because I want to be the person to put Turkey, North Carolina on the map.
Nobody knows who it is except for Dwayne.
Exactly.
Dwayne came from there.
Exactly. That's what I want to be known for. I'm the husband of one wife, father of 4 children. And my children, I say, are the picture of God's grace because my oldest is adopted. My son is from a previous relationship. And then I have 2 baby girls. So I think that's just a picture of God's grace. Thankful for that. I am a podcaster, part-time, I guess, as well as in the trade world. I'm a driver recruiter. Been doing both for actually about the same amount of time, about 2 years. And love God, man, and love people and just love good, sound biblical doctrine.
That's awesome. So how old are your kids?
17, 10, 3, 4, just turned 4, and 1.
Really? Yeah. You got a spread there, man. So
exactly, man. I got one drive and then I'm changing diapers.
And you're counting down the days until that one is out of diapers too, right?
Exactly.
Well, we can only relate to one of those. So.
Yeah, exactly. I'm afraid of when my kids start driving. That's terrifying.
Especially if they drive like you.
Yeah, especially if they drive like that's true.
It's scary. Oh my God, it's scary. Like the B.A.R, you know what they call that bar in the car that you hold on to?
Yeah.
It gets a whole new meaning when you get teenagers.
The old crap handle.
Exactly.
Well, Dawain, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came to faith in Jesus Christ?
Wow, that is an interesting story, man, and I appreciate you asking. I was the drummer in the church, grew up in the church. My parents were missionary Baptists. Grew up in the church, played drums. I was the athlete, the captain of the team and, the popular guy. And, in all of that, I was a womanizer and I really, I was a player as they call it. And, I was a hardcore, downright sinner. And, God used the thing that I had a lot of pride in was my ability to date multiple women. And God used that to break me down, and see that I needed him. And so, it's funny to tell this story. The old 3-way got me. I had 2 girls call me on 3-way and the old 3-way got me and they, figured out each other. And it's funny because God used that moment to shatter my pride and to remind me that I needed a savior. And like I said, even though I've been going to church all my life, I never accepted him as my savior. And on that night, it's weird how simple that was. But on that night, I was just so broken that I rolled over on my knees and I said, God, I'm destroying my life. I need you. I need Jesus. I can't do this without you. And that was my story to come to faith, man. Weird, but that's what he used.
What kind of church background did you come from?
It was missionary Baptist.
Okay.
My parents, missionary Baptist. I had an interesting journey to be where I am now. Where I was missionary Baptist growing up, when I got saved, I was also missionary Baptist. When I met my wife, she was attending a very large charismatic word of faith Pentecostal church in South Carolina. And so when I moved here, I jumped ship, man. I was in there speaking tongues, laying hands, all the whole nine. I was all of it. And then also went into New Apostolic Reformation. I was in the NRA. And I say this now because they pick on me when I was on other podcasts. And actually, I went through the program and they called me an apostle. Like I got ordained an apostle. Yeah.
So we can name this one the one where we talk with an apostle or a former apostle.
Exactly. X. But yeah, man. So that was kind of my background and the beautiful story that got me out of that and into sound, theology was I was working for the city of Greenville and the planning manager heard me mention something about Calvinism. And so he called me in his office. Hey, I heard you mention that, you want to learn about it? I was like, yeah, sure. I was just like, okay, we'll learn about it. He walked me through the Westminster Confession and at the end of the day, man, I was like, yep, I agree with everything except baptism, but everything else I agree.
modified Westminster Confession.
Exactly. So that's pretty much, and he suggested, resources like Ligonier app and Gracie U. And then he introduced me to podcasts. And that's actually, how I got to where I am now because of his introduction to podcasts and being blessed by those resources.
That's cool. So how big did like podcasts and listening to like Ligonier and MacArthur and stuff like that play a big role in your Christian growth? Were there other guys in your life that were discipling you? What did that look like for you to grow in your faith after you came to faith? Right.
Yeah. That was spot on, man. Just because, and honestly, just being transparent, just coming out of the charismatic world, you see the big names, quote unquote. I'm using my air finger quotes. You see the big names and you just automatically are drawn to those. So that background drew me to, Dr. MacArthur and RC and all of the resources. And they were very, very influential. I take nothing back from that. I have a daily routine. I listen to Alistair Begg, Al Mohler, Gracie U, and Renewing Your Mind. That's like my everyday. That's that's the way I eat. But one thing that I realized later was the local pastor, man, that local body, that local person discipling you. And so one of the biggest influences on that level was the same guy that brought me in his office. He, after the fact, he continued to, help me walk through stuff. And that was very big, man. Just having that personal, somebody holding me accountable. He had to relocate. So, we still keep connections. But I definitely value that. That was big on my growth. Podcasts, and like table talk, like different. I was hardcore, man, just looking. So all of those things played a very big role in creating who I am today.
That's so important to you. Like that's so awesome that guy in your life would not only like pull you into his office and invite you to check out something new and use that as a discipleship opportunity there, but actually continue to follow up with you and help you grow. That's so essential. A lot of times we get to thinking that if we can just get somebody on the right track, we're good. And there's this process of discipleship, this lifestyle of discipleship where we're continually walking with people and helping those people come along and grow in their faith.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
There's a lot of people that want to be hands off too.
Yeah.
So they'll go to the resources that are out there that are available to us and kind of stay away from local people too.
Yeah.
And it just emphasizes that importance that those things are there to supplement, but ultimately as local guys, it's our job to pour into them. And I hope people will see and understand just the way that I have as I've walked through discipleship, that those local people are important too.
Yeah.
And so that we need them.
Well, and thank God that there are these amazing resources out there that we can use. I mean, cause I feel it, cause I was sort of the same way. Like I came to faith and didn't have any discipleship. And then, God brought us to this church where there were some awesome guys and they pointed me to resources and really challenged me to think about what it is I'm listening to, what it is I'm consuming. And, am I being pointed to God, or am I being drawn away from God by the stuff that I listen to? But they were active in my life. It was like we would talk about what I listened to and then have that conversation with real people that knew me and that knew the situation that I was in, where like, if somebody's listening to this and they're not at Arbor Drive, like, we don't know you, there might be something that there's something in your life or something in your walk that somebody that does know you can help apply the truth that you hear to that specific situation or whatever. So that there's no substitute for that local personal discipleship. That's awesome.
Dawain, why don't you talk a little bit, like you're doing a podcast and we're podcasting. So we want to address issues that we see in the church today that need to be addressed that maybe aren't. You want to talk a little bit about some of those issues that you see that maybe you're addressing through your podcast, or addressing that maybe just the church nationwide needs to address in general, that's maybe being overlooked a little bit.
I got you. Well, to me, I mean, there's always several issues with the church just because we're in it. That's the main reason. But one thing that me and my team, we address a lot is, the whole social justice, gospel type thing. That's something that is creeping in, becoming more prevalent. And our point of view that we hold.
Can I interrupt? Can you explain that real quick for somebody that maybe doesn't know what social justice gospel means?
Yeah, no, what it is there's a lot of camps that are mixing the current cultural issues, whether it be race or, I guess you could say gender, whatever. They mixing that issue with, saying that the gospel is good, but, we need to address these issues and we need to do this. We need to, change the world or whatever, or create this, reconciliation. That's a word being tossed around, racial reconciliation. So that's going around, and, my team, we stand on the side of the gospel only. We don't, it's no gospel justice, social justice. It's the gospel only. The gospel is the answer. Sin is the issue. The gospel is the only thing that can fix sin. We're not going to create a utopia. The only place you're going to get reconciliation is in heaven. The only thing that is revised is a soul after salvation. That's where we stand, And so that's an issue that's becoming very prevalent in the church and on both sides. I mean, the African-American community, of course. And then also, for the white brothers and sisters that, feel guilty or feel the need to, we need to do this, or they feel pressured by somebody that's in there. The B.A.R podcast, Just Thinking, we all come from the stance of, preach the gospel, exposit the scriptures, be a good shepherd, and all that other stuff will take care of itself, whether in this lifetime, or in eternity. So we don't focus on that.
So what you're saying, because I think I'm 100% in agreement with you. So what you're saying is like the gospel addresses those sin issues that are causing that division or that hatred or that animosity there. And so we often get focused on, we need to, just the racial reconciliation thing, because that's popping up a lot. We need to take these social avenues to repair these divisions in our communities or in our country. And I think what we're saying is anybody that is hating somebody else or has animosity towards somebody else on the basis of race or gender or anything like that, the issue that they need their heart changed by the gospel.
Exactly.
And through that heart change, a new life comes out, and we're able to see one another differently as image bearers of God. We're able to love one another as Christ loved us.
Exactly. Yeah, totally agree. And that's exactly the point. And then, my guys, Daryl and Virgil, they just did a show maybe about 2 weeks ago where they talked about a former Klansman that was, saved and God saved him, changed his heart. And now he's an armor bearer, or not armor bearer, but the security guy for AME Baptist Church.
Really?
And, in I think it's New Jersey. He's the pastor's best friend.
Wow.
Most of the congregation is black, so stuff like that, it happens not because of, you marching or you doing this or doing that. That don't happen because of that. It happened because of the gospel.
Yeah.
And we're just saying, let the main thing be the main thing. Let's put the focus where it's supposed to be at, and everything else will follow, but if you show us, okay, this is a blatant example of racism, we're going to stand with you. We're going to stand behind you. But if you give me this general, white privilege, whatever, if you come with that whole fluff, man, we're going to say, just go to the gospel, and leave me alone. That's kind of our stance.
Isn't it interesting how we believe the gospel, for our salvation, but we don't functionally believe the gospel to be an agent of change. We think we automatically as evangelical Christians or conservative evangelical Christians,
we narrow our view.
Yeah, we do. We go to politics or go to some sort of, social organization or something like that, or the social justice warrior type thing.
We compartmentalize our faith instead of letting it immerse everything that we see and do, all the social issues, all the political issues. That thing we got to fix over here, and this thing we got to fix over here. And faith is just to get us to heaven.
Yeah,
that's all it is. So
that's true.
That's good. That's good. Anything else that you see that sort of blind spots maybe?
Yeah, no, another thing that I see that needs to happen is more encouragement and I guess tools and influence for family worship. That's a place where
Joe's grinning right now.
Oh, he's grinning.
you touched on something there.
That's all. Yeah, man. I mean, that's because it's very important for the strength of not only the church, man, but for the family, the pretty much the foundation of the church. And I think that it's lacking. It's not being influenced. It's not being I guess talked about. It's not being, you're not getting much resources in most churches, and it's not even being encouraged, So I think that's something that needs to improve when it comes to the state of the church.
Yeah, I completely agree. We have replaced family discipleship, family worship with ministry, like formal ministry, and it's detrimental, and we're seeing the effects of that in our society now.
Yeah.
And the church, I completely agree. The church needs to do a better job. We as shepherds need to do a better job of getting those resources into our people's hands and discipling them in learning how to disciple their kids. And it's funny how all those things have become awkward in our homes.
Yes.
To sit down and read the scriptures and to pray together and to sing together and to just to have those relationships built around Christ. And now that's worked out into our society. It's like our society is playing out in our homes now, how we interact with non-Christians outside. And that's now what's normal to interact with our kids and our families and our brothers and sisters. And that's something that we've got to work on changing. So I really appreciate that.
Well, and even just kids growing up seeing that, like, mom and dad don't just love Jesus on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, they've passed on a rich heritage of faith. Now, it might not be this massive theological depth that, that some people might have, but
it doesn't have to be.
Exactly.
Exactly.
There's a worship of Christ in our home.
Right. And I think that, and the reason why it's awkward for us, and I speak of this personally, is because we didn't witness it that often ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so the biggest thing is like, where do you start? You don't have an example to go off of. So I think, if it's brought back, I think that we can start a new tradition where your children will have that example for their children, and it may spark something else.
And if your children are young enough, the only one that's feeling awkward is you. Yeah. That's the crazy thing.
Right.
Like we're like, well, this is awkward. You're the only one that feels that though. Like if your kids are under 8 or under 10 even, like they'll be like, oh, cool. Well, we're doing something with mom and dad. This is like, it'll become normal to them. So,
yeah. So do you have on that, I guess, since this is something that we're highlighting at Arbor Drive, do you have any resources that you would suggest, or have you guys done a show on this that you'd recommend?
No, I have not done a show on this.
You might have to come back on and we might have to kick that one around a little bit.
Right. No, this is something that kind of came to me, I guess in the last month or so, because my little girls, they love YouTube videos and songs and stuff. So I just looked at my wife one night and I was like, hey, let's put on some Christian sing-alongs and that could be our family worship, and it was cool.
Yeah.
They loved it, man, and then they're learning Bible stories. Cause see, what got me was we riding in the car and my little girl that's 4 years old can almost sing the Troll Hair Up song word for word. And I'm like, how do you remember all those words? Cause it's even like a little rap part and she had every bit of it. And I was like, whoa. So if you can remember that, let's switch up the songs. Let's switch up the videos. So that's kind of what we've done for that age group. My son, unfortunately, is not in my home, but I used the text message ministry with him. I always like send him little encouraging words. And then the 17-year-old, she'll sit down with us, but that's another awkward age. But it's definitely something that needs to be addressed and need to be resources for it for sure.
Have you heard of Seeds Worship?
I have not.
Okay, so this was one of our pastors here introduced us to this. He found this and uses it with his kids, and it's basically straight up scripture set to song for little kids.
So it's sort of like
it is NIV, so you do have that
still, but yeah, he gave us when we had Finley, our oldest, he gave us a set of those, and we use those in car rides. And so it's sort of like the little kids singing and everything. So, and it's not annoying for parents.
It's actually done.
It's beneficial, but they sing along and they end up just learning straight scripture while they're singing along. So that's a really cool one that was
Seeds Family Worship.
Yeah, Seeds Family Worship. I think they've got some YouTube stuff too.
Yep, they do.
That might be something to benefit your kids.
Yeah, man.
We've definitely benefited from it in our home. So
nice.
That's awesome.
Well, why don't you? We're kind of one more question. Why don't you talk just a little bit about your podcast? Maybe just why don't you plug it for all of our listeners?
Oh man, my pleasure. And thank you for giving me the room to do that. Everybody don't do that. I don't take that for granted. Some people don't want you to.
I really enjoy it. So like, we want to provide recommendations for people for stuff other than this. They might not like this and want something else. So go over here, man.
I got you. Well, my podcast is called the B.A.R podcast. B.A.R stands for Biblical and Reformed. And I know that is an oxymoron. Stephen Lawson pointed at my shirt and said, you should put biblical equals reform because it's all the same. And I just felt like a dummy. I was like, okay, Stephen Lawson, I'm going to change my logo and everything for you. But anyway, it's a podcast, man. I like to, I do mostly interviews. Mm-hmm. And what I like to do is I like to find interesting people, whether it's a well-known theologian or a professor or a president of a university or a software, or I just interviewed a guy that does comics, reform comics. And so I like to bring you different.
Is it Adam
people.
Ford?
No.
Have you had Adam Ford on yet?
He's shy, man. He will not do it. He will not do it. Like, he literally was like, bro, I don't want to talk.
He started the Babylon Bee, and there was this whole thing like, who is this guy? Yeah. Nobody knew who it was.
Yeah, he will not come out. I talked to him in inbox. He's a cool guy, but he will not do it. He was like, I get anxiety, and I was like, bro, just close your eyes or something. But anyway, but yeah, man. So, we've been blessed, man. We've had some really interesting guests. We have some very well-known guys like, Mark Dever, Al Mohler, Steve Lawson. And then we have some guys, that you never heard of. We call that our local pastor spotlight. We do that once a month, where we randomly pick. I mean, it's very random. Like, it just, whoever sends me one, like, okay, let's do it. So we do a local pastor spotlight where we pretty much, interview a local pastor that wouldn't normally get a platform, that hasn't wrote a bestseller, that will not be on your conference, program. And we just hear his heart about his ministry and,
that's awesome.
And how he got there. And that honestly, I get more responses from those episodes than I do the Al Mohlers and, Mark Devers, because people love to hear other people's story. It encourages them.
Yeah.
So that's really good. And my podcast, actually, we've created kind of a network within the podcast. So, we have about 3 shows connected with our network. The show that the B.A.R comes out every Tuesday. Mm-hmm. My goal, I want to be so consistent that if you were to go in a coma and wake up and you look at your phone and the B.A.R is a brand new episode, like, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
That's how consistent I want to be. So the B.A.R comes out on Tuesday. On Thursday, we have a show called B.A.R.S, which is B.A.R.S, stands for Biblical and Reformed Spitters, which is for the rappers or the Christian hip hop artists or whatever. We do that on Thursday. And then on Friday, we do, Just Thinking. And Just Thinking has its own channel and everything, but it's connected with the B.A.R podcast. And that's with Daryl Harrison and Virgil Walker. They do pretty much they take articles and they break them down, give a biblical perspective of all these social issues that you see flying around. Just released a brand new one today. I don't know when this show is going to drop, but today I'm excited because they tackled an article that was entitled 9 Ways to Be a Better White Person. So you guys got to listen to that.
I'll check that out. That sounds good.
And then lastly, the new addition to the B.A.R network is Kaleoscope. And it's 2 sisters that Miss Ariel and Miss Lisa Robinson They pretty much do the same thing with the social justice issues, but from a female perspective.
Oh, cool.
And so all of these people are connected with the B.A.R podcast, and you can find all of that stuff at thebarpodcast.com and all that, man. So that's pretty much what we got going on.
I love how on the B.A.R podcast you can listen to one episode and you hear Al Mohler, and then the next episode you'll hear a guy that takes theology and fitness and puts them together. Like you guys interviewed Theofit and and like it's just there's so much diversity there. You hear people from different walks of life, different education levels, different involvement in ministry, and
Exactly.
it's just really encouraging to hear how here's this guy that has a passion for fitness and a passion for Christ, and he found a way to bring those two together and bless other people with that. And so just you guys have a tremendous number of guests that you've had that are just really interesting people beyond the Al Mohlers and the Mark Devers, who are interesting in and of themselves, but like just a lot of people that nobody's ever heard of that have this really cool stories of ministry. So I appreciate you guys doing that, man. Yeah, that's kind of, that's me, man. If you knew me personally, like when an album comes out, I don't play what's on the radio. I play, the other track. I just like different. I like to be that guy that bring you something different, that bring you something that you never thought of. Yeah. I literally my inspirations come in spurts, man. Like I could be on Facebook, just like with the comic guy. I was like, hey, I need him on my show. So I hit him on I hit him on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I hit him on all the inboxes. And then when he replied, I said, okay, ignore all the other messages. I'm blowing you up here. You got back to me on this one. Let's just stick with this one.
Exactly.
That's cool, man. Well, hey, Dawain, thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate you taking the time. And for those that are listening, if you want to check out the B.A.R podcast, you can find them on iTunes. You can go to the B.A.R podcast or thebarpodcast.com. Is that right?
That's correct. Thebarpodcast.com.
And you can also check them out on Facebook. You guys have a Facebook page. And so thank you for being on the show.
Thanks, Dawain.
Oh man, I appreciate you guys, man. Super excited about what you guys got going on, and I see a lot of potential. You guys are starting the right way, which is something I wish I did. Like for anybody that goes to the website, please do not stroll all the way to the bottom.
It's like when I first came and started preaching, it's like, don't listen to those first sermons. Just the first year, it's like a grace period. It doesn't even count.
Exactly. Don't stroll to the bottom, man. But yeah, man, hats off to y'all, man. And I appreciate you guys reaching out to me, asking me to be a guest. Definitely don't take that for granted. And then also any other thing I can do for you fellas, man, you let me know and I am there.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for being on. Well, we want to thank Dawain again for being on the show. Really enjoyed talking to you, man, and appreciate you taking the time. It was a great conversation, a lot of good insight, and hopefully be able to have you on again. In the meantime, we release new episodes of the Pastor Discussions podcast every Tuesday. So we're not trying to compete with Dawain, but Tuesday was just the day that we picked. So you can check out the Pastor Discussions podcast and the B.A.R podcast every Tuesday. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can like our page on Facebook. You can send us an email at pastordiscussions@gmail.com. You can check out our website, pastordiscussions.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram. And if you like the show, please do us a favor and subscribe on iTunes, and then rate us and leave us some feedback. That would be really helpful for us. We're going to be doing some giveaways in the future. So when you leave feedback and rate us on iTunes, that automatically gets you entered to win upcoming giveaways. And we're going to be doing one again real soon, and you're going to want to get in on that. So thanks again for listening to the Pastor Discussions podcast, your weekly conversation on doctrine, faith, and the Christian life. This is going to take a lot of editing. This is going to take a lot of editing. At any rate, we sat down with Dawain from the B.A.R podcast and talked with him a little bit about.
You're not supposed to breathe into the mic, John.
Yeah, I know.
This is the biggest mouth breather out of here.
I'm old. I can't help it. It comes out without my knowledge. I can't control it.
You're saying that you instinctively breathe?
Heavy.
That's good.
That's good. That's a sign of health. It's a sign that you're alive.
Yes.
Anyway. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pastor Discussions podcast. This is your... Stop it. You make me laugh. All right. Now you're going to watch my kid.
We're going to babysit John's kids.
Not even. You're just going to babysit his house.
Yeah, that's true. We're just going to sit in his house.
All you have to
a
do is
date.
make sure that the house does not burn down with them in it.